Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. It is so great to be here. Sorry for the delay. This time it was Joe Tillman's fault. Apparently,
right here.
Yeah. Apparently he had some sort of issues with his issues.
That was deep.
It was. I still don't hear you coming through your mic.
Check, check, check. No?
No.
At all?
No, it sounds like you're in like a bathroom. I'm cool with that.
The secret's out. Maybe it's...
Anyway, guys, while Joe is trying to fix his shit, let's tell you about what this is, why I'm here, why Joe is here, obviously, and I guess why you are all tuning in. We are hair loss sufferers. I am the founder of the American Hair Loss Association, the author of The Bald Truth and the Truth About Women's Hair Loss, the founder of the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons, and a guy who's been dealing with hair loss for well over 3 decades. Yes, that is right. I am 53 years old, started to lose my hair at about the age of 21, or at least that's when I noticed it. Excuse me. And I have been off to the races ever since. It fucked me up so much that I turned my Achilles heel into my life's passion, my career. This is the way I earn my living. This is essentially all I do as far as my active work. And guys who are entrepreneurs will probably know what that means. But this is the work that I focus on. And my goal has always been to empower hair loss sufferers with everything they need to deal with this incredibly emotional, devastating disease of the spirit. This is a big deal, people. This is a situation where 2/3 of men by the age of 35 suffer with some degree of hair loss, and 40% of hair loss sufferers are women. This is a silent epidemic of biblical proportions that affects just about every household in the world. Sounds like a lot of people, right? It is.
It is a lot of people.
That is why it is a $3.5 billion... I'm going to put you on camera even though your sound sucks. That is why it is a $3.5 billion a year industry. Actually, it's about $4 billion a year now here in the U.S. alone. Worldwide, the numbers are astronomical. Add an extra billion for the Turkish market. Add another billion or so for the rest of Asia. And we're not even talking about South America and other continents that are providing any products or services that claim to stop, prevent, or treat hair loss. And the reality is 99% of all products and services that claim to stop or prevent or treat hair loss in some way are complete bullshit. They do not work. They will not help you. This is one of the most ruthless, vicious, cutthroat, repugnant industries that anyone could ever be involved in, whether you are a consumer or you are sitting on this end of the microphone. It's a good
word, repugnant. That's the perfect word. That's today's word of the day, repugnant.
It is a disgusting cesspool of a place. But with that said, there is hope. If you are lucky enough to find this broadcast, if you're lucky enough to find some other really great online resources, if you are lucky enough to perhaps know somebody who made the right choices, which is rare, then it is possible if you choose to treat your hair loss, to do something that will equal a positive experience. But sadly, in most cases, that is not what happens. Whether you are going the surgical route, which is scary as shit if you don't know what you're doing, the non-surgical route, which is one of the most inconsistent, ridiculous ends of this industry that you could ever imagine. The topical treatments, the lotions and potions, all this stuff, it is so fucking ruthless and dangerous, and everyone is selling vulnerable people hope when in fact, in most cases, they're not going to be able to help you. But again, if you make the right decisions, if you do your homework, if you do your due diligence, it is possible to come out of this industry relatively unscathed, and in the lucky cases, again, the guys who really know what they're getting into, they can be helped. It can be life-changing. You can be a Joe Tillman. You could have a guy look like a guy who, this guy was a Norwood 6, Norwood 7, going to Norwood 20, and now he appears to have a full head of hair. It's a fucking miracle. It is possible. I stopped the progression of my hair loss using FDA-approved medication. That was tough for me today.
Well, it's okay.
Name of that drug is Proscar. Most of you guys know it as Propecia. It is Finasteride, which is now being marketed by all types of companies, which in a way I think is really great, because there are companies like Keeps and Hims and other companies that are coming out that are selling generic finasteride, and there's a whole new generation of millennials that are dealing with hair loss that are kind of being reintroduced to the medication. And for the first time in many years, more people are being helped than ever before. There was like a boycott, in a sense, an online and a just like this mental boycott on the drug. And so many guys were using whatever they could, whether it was off-label, gray market, whatever they could, hanging upside down, whatever they could to avoid using the one drug that actually can slow or stop the progression of your hair loss. Now, we do not sell this drug. We have no connections to the pharmaceutical companies. We are not Merck shills. I do not make $1 from talking about my experience on finasteride, and neither does Joe. We just happen to think that it's helped a lot of people who've given it a try. And sadly, it is one of your only true chances as men to slow the progression or stop the progression of your hair loss. Not much else out there. Joe, you still sound like you're in a bathtub.
Do I really?
Now you sound a little distorted, but step back from the mic.
Okay, maybe I'm too close. How's that? Is that better?
It's a little low, but it's better. Speak.
Low. Arf. Arf.
Okay,
Arf.
that's good.
Okay, better?
All right, guys, let me give out the phone numbers. 888-659-3727. Joe's finally got his shit together. And
in the bathroom, which is, there's no irony there.
Yeah.
And I was going to say that I've gone from, Norwood 6, Norwood 7 to some schlep that's messing around with his sound settings on a hair loss show. That's the progression.
Yeah, so that is progress, my friend.
That's progress. Exactly.
Yeah. So, listen, we both come a long way. And I feel extremely fortunate to be 53 years old and have the head of hair that I have. And, even though it's a pain in the ass to deal with, I still feel exceptionally fortunate, especially when I've watched my peer group essentially just, allow their shit to erode.
I'm waiting forward to the next high school reunion.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's like I'll be pushing 50 by the time my next, I think it's this year. I think it is. I don't know. I don't keep in touch with that stuff, but I know it's soon. But I know that I'm going to have a lot more hair than a lot of my contemporaries or a lot of my former classmates. And they've lost hair as they've gotten older, and I've gained hair as I've gotten older. I lost my hair early on. I dealt with that shit early.
Dude, I'm so old that my next high school reunion, there's going to be guys in like those, jazzies rolling around and walkers and shit.
I just want
I'm not even
I just
kidding.
want one of those carts. I just want one of those battery carts. Those look too fun.
Yeah, that's what it's going to, with the big basket in the front.
Yeah.
And the chicks who have it are like knitting. They have like yarn.
Yeah, full of yarn and a puppy. Not exactly a puppy. No
Maybe
dog,
a puppy.
but yeah.
A live one, though.
Yeah, of course. Well, we hope.
Yeah. All right, guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. Look, this is the Hair Loss Show. Happy New Year. Happy 2019. A lot of great things to talk about. We're going to get to your calls, but we're here to answer your questions. So if you're new to the program and you seem to be getting cut off every time you try to call in, there's no busy signal. I still haven't gotten around to getting that fixed. But essentially that means that the phones are all lit, which ours are tonight or today. So just keep trying. You'll know you get on as soon as you hear our voice. You hear like a little connection, and then everyone who's holding on, as soon as you hear a little like radio switching sound, like a tuning sound, you'll know that you're on the air.
And you'll hear us speaking, and then you'll be like, hello, am I on? And we won't be responding because you're on hold.
That is so.
That's the way it works.
All right, guys. Phone number 888-659-3727. I actually explained the way it works, and then you re-explained and fucked everybody up.
I had to simplify it, man. Come on.
Let's take a phone call. Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from? Hello? Hey, man, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, hey, this is Ken from Colorado.
Ken from Colorado. What can we do for you, man? Welcome.
Hey, thanks. First-time caller. Spencer, I've been listening to you for about 4 to 5 years.
Wow.
Joe, I love your channel. I think you're awesome. Can't believe the situation that you were in after the first couple hair transplants. I look at your photos, and I'm like, oh, my God, how does this guy do it? How do you get out there and be social? And you're a warrior. You're an emotional warrior.
Well, are you asking how he goes out now and is social? Because I ask the same question once in a while.
Thanks for the setup. I appreciate that. Thank you. Good night.
No, I'm just getting him back for the. I'm getting him back for the high. I made a comment that my hairline looks a little high today. He goes, "Yes, it does."
I thought you said your part. I thought you said your part line.
Same thing. Anyway,
hey, so
go ahead.
brief history. I'm 44. I noticed my male pattern hair loss probably around the mid-30s. Basically, I'm Asian, so it kind of recedes in that, or it thins out in more or less that horseshoe pattern versus, I guess, more Caucasians get kind of the widow's peaks receding, which I'm always jealous of because I'm like, wow, if I had my central forelock, then I could at least just rock a mohawk like Chuck Liddell or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but basically, yeah, I first noticed it, and then like you were saying, Spencer, I went online and I looked up Finasteride Propecia, and then I saw the Propecia help, and I just said to myself, oh my God, what am I getting into? So I tried Rogaine for a while, didn't really see like dramatic results. So then I kind of had a come to Jesus moment with myself and just thought, well, let's look at it this way. We're in a first world country, and we've got probably one of the most litigious societies ever. And if there was truly a widespread problem with Propecia, then it would probably get pulled off the market pretty quickly, like Fen-Phen, right? It would basically just be attacked and vilified in the mainstream media.
Well, what's interesting is it has been attacked and vilified in the mainstream media, and there has been a lot of ambulance chasers who've jumped, in my view, who've jumped on this class action bandwagon. And once there's one class action filed, essentially different law firms will then, and I kind of hear myself in the background, so you may have to turn down your computer. A lot of law firms will just kind of attach themselves to that and say, wait a second, there may be an opportunity here. Let's file some class action lawsuits. Now, the reality is there is no causal data showing anything that is now known as post-finasteride syndrome. And drug companies, essentially, once there are a certain number of complaints filed, I'm not exactly sure of what that number is, but they then have to put the possible side effect on the label. Doesn't mean that that side effect actually has a causal effect. It just means that it's been reported after the clinical trials. So I am not saying that these guys who are complaining of these tremendously disturbing adverse side effects are not having these side effects. And I'm not saying that post-finasteride syndrome does not exist. However, to date, it has still not been proven that there is a physiological reason why this happens to some people. So, you know, there you go. That's all I can say about the drug.
Yeah, definitely, and that's kind of what just prompted me to get on it. Roughly, I guess it's about 10 years ago now. I had good, at least in terms of stopping the progression, I had good results. Again, I'm 44 now, and a couple of years ago, and when I first started Finasteride, I basically stopped the game because I felt like, well, this isn't really doing anything anyway. But I did notice that a couple of years ago, I added on to Finasteride.
Are you moving around, man? Because you're breaking up.
No, is this better?
Yeah, it's okay right now, yeah.
Okay. So basically, a couple of years ago, I added on the Rogaine to my Finasteride regime, and I did see actually a regrowth. So it was like a booster effect for sure.
Great.
And then last year, I added on using the laser comb from HairMax, and same type of deal. I saw another regrowth boost, which I was, very happy about. So my follicles definitely like the synergistic effect, I feel.
All right. So, I mean, so far so good. It sounds like you're having a good experience.
Yeah, so far so good. And I'm more or less experiencing, I guess, what you call hair greed. So I went out, and I actually work only about 2 miles away from Dr. James Harris's office in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
So last month I went out and had a consultation with him, and I felt that it was a really good experience. He's I don't know what your guys' opinion of him. Obviously, he's in the IAHRS, so
yeah, he's been with us for 20 years. I mean, since he's one of our founding members. I can count on actually 2 fingers on how many complaints that I've received in 20 years about Dr. Harris. So it's pretty rare. This guy is absolutely ahead of the curve, and he is a very ethical, honest guy. So I'm curious to know, what he said.
So it was a really great consultation. There was a few things that I really liked about it. One is that he charges a fee for the consultation, which I feel is better in terms of it's not like a used car salesman where they're just like, come on down, and they try to talk you into something.
Look,
I
tell everybody, I don't mean to cut you off, that every doctor, I want every IAHRS member to have the resolve and not have the fear that's out there of losing potential patients, but they have the resolve to charge a fee for this incredibly important service. If you were going to a doctor for any other issue, you would have to pay a fee, whether it's, you're considering having a hernia procedure, you're considering having a colonoscopy, or if you just want a basic checkup. Check out this mole. You're not going to go, a dermatologist isn't going to say, okay, we'll check it out and we can remove it, or maybe we won't remove it. Mm-hmm. They don't do that for free. This is an expert opinion. So anyway, I'm sorry.
I think that, well, first off, I just want to interject and say, hearing a patient say this is outstanding. I'm really glad that you said that. I couldn't agree more. Obviously, Spencer agrees. The way I look at it is, if you have to shell out some bucks to listen to an expert's opinion about your position in hair loss and what your options are, you're also more likely to listen, and you're going to have a better education because of it. And you're going to retain that information and maybe proceed with a bit more caution if part of that lesson was caution. So I just wanted to say that because I think it's awesome that you said that. And so thank you.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, and it definitely shows that Dr. Harris knows what he's worth, and he values his own expertise and service. And then that puts me at ease because it's like, oh, this guy's just not giving away his opinion like it's something for free, that it's something that's worthless.
I agree 100%. And I think that's really important. I'm going to actually share, if you don't mind, I want to share this sound clip with my membership because I really think they're cheapening themselves by going the free consultation route, by going the large chain clinic, come in and, we'll try to sell you a box route.
That's a habit. It's a standard that needs to go away. It needs to end. It cheapened the field from the very beginning. I mean, we have Bosley and the chain clinics to blame for that. I'm just really impressed he said that, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and it was again, it was a really professional consultation. You go inside, and the receptionist just checks you in, walks you into his office, and the next thing you know, he shows up. It's not like someone trying to sell you anything. It's like, hi, I'm an MD. I'm Dr. Harris, and this is my clinic. Welcome, and what can I do for you?
Yeah, and here's a medical assessment of your hair loss situation, and this is what I could possibly help you with. That is the way it's supposed to be done.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I'm really passionate about it, and since you're bringing it up, I want the guys who are tuning in, the physicians who are tuning in, to listen to this. Listen to this caller. Listen to the impression that he got from his experience with Dr. Harris by actually having a consultation with a doctor instead of a salesman. It makes all the difference in the world. All right, so tell me about your consultation. Tell me what he said he can do for you.
Okay, so basically I just gave him a brief history, and then he came over and kind of, looked through my hair. He just probably took about a minute looking through. And he basically said he doesn't see any, any kind of inflammation or any other reasons for my hair thinning versus male pattern baldness. And then he knew about my regime, and he said, well, really the only other things I could recommend aside from surgery, and he didn't push surgery whatsoever. He actually didn't even say the word surgery until a good 10 minutes into the conversation. And he basically said, well, you could try the shampoo, Nizoral shampoo. And I said, I'm actually already doing that. He said, okay, well, yeah, you've pretty much thrown the kitchen sink at your condition. And he said, PRP may help a little bit, but I'm not really going to try to, push you down that road. And he said, he basically left it up to me. He said, like, what do you feel like, we could help you with, is kind of how he presented it. And so, I brought up the subject of, for a hair restoration, I was thinking maybe the frontal hairline, the front center hairline is really my weakest spot. Going back into kind of, I guess, maybe the mid-scalp area. So that was it. He basically said he could probably do it in 1,200 to 1,500 grafts. He gave me a couple different options in terms of FUT versus FUE, robotic versus not robotic.
Now let me ask you a question besides the price. I mean, how did he present the options to you?
Let's see. He actually, I guess he's got another physician that's sharing his office space now. So he said that she charges slightly less in terms of, because I don't know why, but she does, and she offers some the services like FUE, I guess, using the Harris Safe, the little Dremel type tool.
Right.
But basically, he laid out several options. And I didn't actually see pricing, actually, I take that back. He was very upfront about pricing. He was basically like, I could do FUT with that amount of grafts for X dollars, or I could do Artist Robotic for X dollars. And so he really laid it out. And then his prices versus his associates' prices in the same office.
Okay, now just realize that usually when you have an associate, his name is on that shingle. When these physicians bring on an associate, they will let you know that you can have surgery with their associate and they will charge less. That's kind of the way the game always works. And that's the way that it works in every aspect or every form of cosmetic surgery in every practice. So usually the named doctor is going to charge a little bit more. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the associate is going to give you any type of an inferior result. I don't actually know who the associate is at this point, so I'm going to have to speak to Dr. Harris. But I am sure if she's working with Dr. Harris, she has to be good.
Yeah, I basically told Dr. Harris, it's like if I have it done at this clinic, it's going to be you 110%. So not that there's not anything against who she is, but I'm here because of your name and your reputation.
Well, and that makes sense, and I'm glad that he actually offered you a choice, because there are some guys out there that now will no longer offer you a choice. So say, look, I know you came here based on my great reputation, but I'm going to let this little kid perform surgery on you. and I'm not going to do it.
But it's my kid,
remember
so he's got my genes running through him, so at least you got that much.
Yeah. So
I remember the caller from a couple weeks back, and then you guys went on a rant on, I think it was, the certain New York doctor and his associate. It was like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, and listen, there's nothing wrong with this. This kid probably has really good hands, I mean, but the reality is, if you go in and walk through somebody's doors based on their personal reputation, then you should have the option to have surgery with that physician. If that option is taken off the table, not by you, but by the clinic, then in my view, at least what I would do is I would walk.
It's like going to the store and buying a can of Coke, and you pop it open, and it's just tap water with some coloring and some fuzzy carbs injected into it.
Now, if it's put out there that, hey, look, I'm Dr. So-and-so, I founded this clinic, I no longer perform surgery, or I prefer not to. However, I have this really highly trained and skilled associate who is offering the procedure, and I give them a thumbs up. That's different. If people walk in for that and they're aware of that, then that's great.
Yep.
That's the way that it should be.
It's called truth in advertising.
Exactly.
Yep. And then another question that I asked him is, and really it was your guys' inspiration that, it's not something that anyone probably feels comfortable asking, but it's like, okay, what if the stars are not aligned and I have some strange complication and it ends up looking unnatural, or I'm just not happy with the result? So I basically posed that question.
And what was his response?
Very good response. He basically said, anything up to and including a full refund. He said, just based off of what the final results would be, the possibility of a second surgery free of charge, or, again, up to and including a refund. So just hearing that as that, if all hell breaks loose, that is still, an option, and that
I look at that differently than most people. I think that I mean, this is kind of a deeper subject, but I think that first off, it's the doctor's responsibility, or the consultant and then the doctor's responsibility, to make sure that that this is an elective procedure. And there are no guarantees with almost anything. But especially with elective surgery. And so I understand the idea. I've been behind the idea of, well, if it doesn't grow, the way it should or whatever, then we'll do it over, or, full or partial refund, just like he said. I get it. And it's pretty much the standard answer you'll get from any top clinic, not to take away from Dr. Harris, but that's the standard type of answer you'll get from clinics that have really good reputations. My thoughts on the matter.
And I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second, and you're right about that. And that you said something very key. That's the answer you get from clinics who have good reputations. The answer that you get from most clinics is that's a rare situation. We've had to maybe refund one person's money in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And all that shit. Yeah. So I think that I think that was very important for you to state that the better clinics will tell you at least that truth.
But I think going forward, even beyond that, I think that I question the issue of a money-back guarantee, straight off the bat. I don't know if that's I don't think that is don't even know if that's ethical. And the reason I say that is because if you give a money-back guarantee, I think that's potentially inducing a patient to have a procedure that they normally wouldn't have if they didn't have that guarantee.
Yeah, but did he really give a money-back guarantee, or did he just put out a scenario of what could possibly happen?
And I'm not talking about this specifically. And forgive me, caller. I want to finish this point. I think that offering up a money-back guarantee on a website or straight up as part of the presentation, or as the immediate answer when the question was posed, just like the caller gave, I think to say, oh well, we give you a money back guarantee, even if it's in writing, I think that is, I don't like that, and because two reasons. Number one, it's inducing the patient to have a procedure they normally wouldn't have, maybe, if that guarantee wasn't in place. And what happened to the donor hair? How's the guarantee deal with the donor hair? It's gone. It's wasted. You're not getting it back, right? So I think that as a patient, it's your responsibility to understand that regardless of a money-back guarantee or partial refund or whatever, I think that the number one thing that you need to look for is if there's going to be, when you ask that question, if there's some sort of hint of compassion in, well, you know what, if it doesn't turn out, then we'll work with you to get you as close to satisfaction as possible. Because I'm here to tell you, that's the best you can expect. I've been there. I've worked in clinics where patients come back, they're unhappy. I've seen situations where, money was returned, money was refunded, but was the patient any better off because of it? No, they were still unhappy. They still had whatever issues they had. Forgive the rant, but it's like I think that if the clinic can tell you, well, you know what, maybe we can work out a second surgery to kind of address whatever issue it may be, I think that's a more sensible approach. Now, if you go to a shit clinic that you find out later on doesn't have a good reputation, I mean, and I know it's pie in the sky stuff, but you find out, okay, well, they are kind of a fly-by-night joint. You don't want a repair surgery. You don't want a second surgery. You do want that money back. But I mean, it's kind of a fine line, and this isn't a completely thought out position, but that's the way I think about just automatically offering money back guarantees or guarantees of any sort. I think that the only guarantee that someone should give is, you know what, great question. My only guarantee is I'll do my best. That's all you can really expect. That's all you can ask for.
Can you let the caller speak for a second, dude?
No.
No, I agree with that. I would feel weird. I would kind of find it suspect if a cosmetic surgeon would be like, money back guarantee, because people could come back for anything. People could come back and say, oh, I've got 2 multi-graft plugs in my hairline. Now I want my money back. What is the doctor going to do then? They can't possibly make all these people happy in every possible scenario, right?
Yeah, that's
so I'd be a little freaked out.
Who puts the definition on satisfaction, right? It's like, even if everything grew, even if you had finely trimmed singles for the hairline and angle and direction were spot on and it looked 100% natural, well, it's not enough. I'm not happy.
Yeah, what if you get a OCD person come in and say, because these 2-3 flaws, they want money back for the entire procedure? It's like,
I've seen it happen.
I would find it suspect for a doctor to offer that.
Yeah. I mean, again, there's so much more to this. It's a very deep subject with multiple angles to look at it. But I think that on the surface, if they automatically offer money back guarantee, turn around and walk out. If they say, oh, well, it doesn't really happen, and when it does, it's like it's so rare, we've only given money back, once every blue moon or whatever, that's a lie. Because every clinic out there is given refunds. I will go on record as saying probably once a year. I think that's fair to say based on my experience. Based on all the people I talk to.
Pretty bad.
Yeah. What's that?
It probably has to be a pretty bad result before they'll even go down that route, I'm guessing.
It depends. Maybe it may not even be that. It depends on the pressure, I would say. It may not even depend on the result. It really depends on what the patient chooses to do based on his perception of that result.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's a very complicated issue on multiple levels. But yeah, there are situations where the clinic does feel undue pressure. I won't go into why, but they do feel undue pressure that it's like, okay, you know what? Here, just take the money, sign on this form, and go away. So that they're no longer being pushed. I've seen all kinds of scenarios with this.
Yep.
And sometimes it just comes down to straight extortion.
That too. But the point is, okay, Dr. Harris said the right thing, and obviously, he's a highly respected, highly skilled, highly qualified physician that's been doing this for a long time. He understands the nuances of the surgery. He came up with he came up with one of the first great tools in the industry with his safe system, his FUE motor. But yeah, I mean, any other clinic that would offer that that's maybe not got such a great reputation, you want to dig a little bit deeper. But ultimately, even with Dr. Harris in your roster, have a few consultations. If you can travel to see a few clinics, do so, and do some comparison. Try to meet patients of Dr. Harris since he's so close. Try to meet patients of other clinics if if they're closer. Or, do some research on that and spend some money. Don't be afraid to invest in traveling to meet patients, because ultimately, to be able to see a result firsthand on someone that doesn't work in the clinic, that's worth its weight in gold. Because when you see it in real life versus in some sort of photo that's being picked out for a website because this is let's get on the website, then you're really giving yourself an education. You can see what this great result on the website looks like sitting across the table from you eating lunch, which is what I recommend everyone do. Offer to buy them lunch for their trouble, something like that. So things to consider, but you're on the right track for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think I've heard I follow many YouTube doctors, not that they're YouTube doctors, but they're doctors that share on YouTube. I don't think I ever heard you guys mention Dr. Sam Lamb in Texas. He seems to have a lot of good content and lectures.
I think Dr. Lamb is he's a really nice guy. I think that he is incredibly articulate. He presents really well. He's one of the first, like the OG YouTube docs, as you put it. And he's able to explain things exceptionally well. Dr. Lamb has never applied to the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons, so I have never really had the opportunity to really dig into his work. But I will say that he lectures a lot. He runs a very well-attended workshop once a year in, where does he run it? In
I think Dallas.
No, it's not in Dallas. It's in St. Louis, I think, for some reason, isn't it?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. But I really cannot speak to his work. I can speak to his character, though, at least the way that he's been with me over the years. He's always been very nice, incredibly respectful. And, when I see him at conferences, I mean, this is not the type of guy to kind of shy away from me and say, oh, man, there's Kobren. There's the whistleblower. There's a whistleblower. I mean, he always, shakes my hand, and he's just a very cordial guy. And I will tell you this. During the meeting this year, my cat had a stroke, and I had to cancel one of my days of interviews. And this guy heard through the grapevine that my cat had a stroke, messaged me on Facebook to ask me how my cat was doing.
Wow.
So I would say that speaks volumes about his character. I wish I could tell you more about his work.
Yeah. Oh, so I guess one other technical question regarding just my ethnicity, just being Asian. I think I've read like blog entries from Dr. Harris, and then I've heard you, Joe, talk about it, kind of the differences in the Asian follicle, how it's more fragile or just needs to be treated with a different kind of care during surgery. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, you got kid gloves, man. Kid gloves. I remember hearing comments from doctors I've worked with where, like during surgery, like when they're coming out of surgery, taking a break or whatever and going back in, it's like this patient, wow, his follicles are really, really fragile. They're like, we've had a couple of them actually burst, meaning that the bulb, it can't take the pressure from even being tugged and pulled, because again, very, very detailed information behind this, but just in summary, when you're pulling out grafts or handling grafts, you can't apply the forceps over the base of the shaft or along the lower part of the shaft at all, because you can damage the hair. You got to grab the tissue. But even then, when you're pulling on the tissue and maneuvering it and stuff like this, the bulbs can actually pop, and the shaft is fragile down below near the bulb. And so if there's too much damage, like if any of this happens, you might as well throw it in the trash. Not that they do, but I'm just telling you. It's just not going to grow, or if it grows, it's going to be compromised, which is a whole other issue. Kinkiness and wiriness, and it's just it shows you that it's been damaged even though it's growing.
Okay.
But there's also, there are other challenges with Asian patients in general. If you're East Asian, not Southeast, but East Asian, like Chinese, Japanese, something like that, then your scalp is more likely to be tight if you're ever considering FUT surgery. The follicles in general are going to be more coarse than Caucasians. And while a lot of Asians may look like they have really super thick hair, it's because the hair follicle itself, or the hair shaft, is really coarse, because typically Asians don't have the density that Caucasians have. The number of hairs per follicular unit are on average less than Caucasians as well, but you make up for it with the coarseness. But oddly, that coarseness, I can't attribute it straight to the coarseness, but just the genetic makeup of your follicles, the hair shafts are more fragile to begin with. So some things to be aware of. So the question that you need to ask the doctor is, how much experience do you have working with Asian hair? Do you have results I can look at of Asian patients? Just common sense stuff on that level.
Now, that seems like it's common sense because you're saying it. But the reality is, when someone sees an ad, and caller, you're a caller to the program, so you've been following us for a while and listening to me for a few years. So you are not the average consumer. But the average consumer sees an ad for hair transplant surgery, whether it's NeoGraft or Artist or SmartGraft or Safe System or whatever it is out there, whatever people are using. They just see, first 1,000 grafts, this price, or they see some sort of shit out there, and it just seems like a really simple outpatient procedure. There are very few Asians out there who would ever think of asking what percentage of your patients are Asian, how much experience you have with Asian hair, because no one understands that there is a difference. It's just not put out there for public consumption.
Yeah.
And that's what, it just kills me. I just put a call into I'm supposed to rewrite some articles for a really well-known mainstream medical site. And I just put a call in because I'm waiting for some stuff to go through. But that point alone that you just brought up is something that we don't have out there through the American Hair Loss Association or the IHRS. And I think we need to write about it, Joe.
I think you're right. Let's do it.
It's very, that is an impactful point that I think is missed by basically everyone.
It's not my fault, man. I've talked about it before. It's like...
Yes, you have. But it's not out there in people's marketing. Why shouldn't that be on every doctor's website? Asians click here.
ACLU would have a field day.
Listen, Asian hair matters, man. We're trying to save Asians' lives.
Asian hairs matter.
You guys keloid more often. You're prone to keloid scarring.
There's that too.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
And your hair follicles are more fragile. Who knew?
So the odds are not in your favor compared to like a Caucasian. God, that sounded bad. Yeah. But still.
But plus you also have a greater contrast between your hair color and your skin color.
There's that too.
So, I mean,
Are you sure you want to do this?
No, but you really need to go with someone who has experience with Asian hair transplantation. That's the thing.
Yep.
Collar's hopping a plane to Korea tomorrow.
No, that's a funny thing because Joe, the YouTuber Hairliciously, and he gets his transplants in South Korea. So
Yes.
I was just it's like that has entered my mind more than once.
If that ever does
admittedly.
enter your mind to where it's more serious, let me know. Contact me through my website. I know some good clinics based on.
Okay.
I haven't reviewed them. Don't misconstrue this, but I do know some clinics that you can maybe look at.
And there's also a few Asian doctors in North America that you can go to as well.
There are.
Yeah, that's the reason I like Sam Lam. It's kind of he's. I don't know how many Asian patients he has, but this is probably erroneous, but just him being Asian, I would just kind of feel that he might understand better, but that's not medically sound at all.
It seems like it makes sense, but it is erroneous because it's the demographic that his hands work on, not the demographic that he belongs to.
It's about time on Asian tissue.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about his sex life. So, but honestly, and the only reason I know that his better half is Asian is because of Facebook. So I wasn't just making an assumption that he was an Asian chick. But anyway, can't even talk today. Can't even have a fucking normal conversation. Anyway,
Happy New Year.
I wish I can give him the thumbs up as far as his surgery is concerned. I don't know. I mean, I don't hear a lot of. We don't get. Let's put it this way: we are not receiving a lot of complaints about Sam Lam. If that helps.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was curious.
And he's a really lovely guy.
I can't speak at
he seems
all on
that
that. I've never spoken to the guy, but what he said.
And you can tell him that you called the program and asked about him, and I said he was a lovely man.
He's just
I will
lovely.
do that.
All right, man. Yeah. Any other questions before we take other callers?
No, I guess that's it. Again, like it's total hair greed on my part. It's 5 to 6 shakes of topic, and I look fine. So I'm neither here nor there on the whole procedure.
Then that's it. Then don't have surgery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Done.
If you are able to look good and you feel okay using concealer, which I think in this day and age a lot of guys do, then just go for it. How old are you again? You said you're 30?
44.
You're 40 fucking 4?
Jesus.
Yeah.
Man.
Dude, don't have surgery, man.
No.
Really?
Yeah. If you're 44 and you're able to get away with a couple of shakes of Topic at this point, save that hair. You may really need it in 10 years.
Okay. And then you figure in 10 years they'll probably have narrowed down the whole cure.
Oh, that's what I figured. That's what I figured 20 years ago.
30 years ago.
My very first program, June, I forgot the exact date, 1998, WABC Radio. One of the first things I talked about was the potential of hair cloning by an Asian physician in the Netherlands.
Hasn't happened yet.
It has not happened yet. I really believed when I got into this field that I had about 5 years to make as much cash as possible and get out.
Money run.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
It's that erroneous belief where I'm like, oh, what if I get a hair transplant, those 5 or 6 shakes of Topic are going to make me look like a K-pop star? And it's like, I know in my rational brain that that's not true, but it's,
What could happen is you could have a hair transplant, and then you're going to need Kobren and Topic because you may shock the shit out of your hair.
Yes,
exactly.
Definitely.
So the reason I am still dealing with this quasi comb over is because I believe that, in my view, even though doctors tell me differently, that I have too much hair to have a hair transplant. I have too much hair to lose to have a hair transplant. Go ahead.
The doctor did mention that to me. He said that because you have so much hair, it's miniaturized, but you have so much hair that you would experience shock loss. Dr. Harris did say that.
So basically he's telling you don't have surgery.
Just like we are. So 3 strikes, buddy. You're out.
Yeah.
All right.
Done.
All right.
All right, man.
Hit the showers.
That was an hour and a half I'm never going to get back. Listen, I'm glad you called. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope we were able to help.
Yeah, definitely. Keep up the good work, guys.
All right, man. Thanks.
Thanks
Take
for
care.
calling.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The phone number is 888-659-3727. Let's take a phone call. Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hi, Spencer. Hi, Joe. This is Tim from Germany. How are you doing today?
Tim from Germany. Welcome.
From Germany.
Yeah.
Wow, welcome.
Yeah, you remember me? I was the guy who paid 1,000 euros for a hairpiece, 3 pieces at the time. I called in summer.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're the
rings
only.
a bell, yeah.
You're the only Tim from Germany who's ever called this program. So how can we forget?
Yeah, okay. I wanted to give you a heads up on my hairpieces.
All right.
Okay.
So I wasn't, as you remember, I wasn't very happy with it, and I talked to the manager about it. And there were some problems with scheduling my appointments, and he threw a hairpiece without charge on top of that. So I got like 1 year of hairpieces left now. And if you remember, we talked about that I would possibly be thinking about taking Propecia or Finasteride.
I don't remember that. But I remember the hairpieces.
Yeah, my idea was that I got like a year of hairpieces left, so maybe if I start using Propecia for a year, and when my hairpieces fall apart, because I'm not planning to buy any more of those in Germany, maybe I got something like hair underneath it. Maybe some will regrow or something.
Okay, so have you started?
Okay.
No, I didn't start because, in Germany we got universal health care, so it takes up to 2 or 3 months to get a doctor's appointment. So I went to my dermatologist first.
The beauty of free healthcare.
Exactly.
The beauty of free healthcare, exactly. So I went to my dermatologist first. It took about 2 months because they only will let you in if you like bleeding or dying out of itchy skin or something like that. So I went to her, and she wouldn't subscribe me Proscar, but she gave me a prescription for Propecia. Okay. And then I asked about Proscar and explained that I would like to cut the pill into like quarters or something. And she said, no, she can't do that. I have to go to a urologist. So I wanted to try this and further discuss it. So I made a doctor's appointment to the urologist.
Wow.
And he wouldn't prescribe me Proscar too. He only would prescribe me Propecia.
So 6 months later, you're able to only get 2 appointments.
So now you have 1 hairpiece left.
You got 1 hairpiece.
6 months later. Holy
yeah, that's right.
shit.
That's right. And
dude, you could have just ordered Hims or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you need a prescription for that too in Germany.
Well, you need, I think they actually provide you a prescription. I don't know how it would work in Germany, but I think it's pretty. I'm pretty sure they would be able to. I know it's probably an international company by now, so there's got to be a way that they're able to have a consult online or on the phone with you.
But it's generic, isn't it?
It is generic. Yeah, they're all these companies are. You don't know what generic they're using either.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. You're talking about that you're a brand horse, and then
I am a brand whore. The main reason that I'm a brand whore is because I started with the brand, and I don't want to fuck with it. But I know guys who have been on generics for years, and not necessarily the same generics, and they've done great. And then you hear the stories of those who go from brand to generic and then lose all their hair. So I'm a fan of sticking to whatever you start with.
Yeah,
sticking to what works.
Yeah,
taking no risk at this point. So I got this prescription now on my desk, and I'm gonna frame it or something, put it on my wall. But there's a question I wanted to ask you about the dosage, because both doctors, the dermatologist and the urologist, said I would need to take 7 milligrams a week, so a pill a day. And I only heard you guys talk about 5 milligrams a week. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, listen, you have to understand that the physician's desk reference in every language and the way that the drug was tested by the pharmaceutical company was it worked in this dosage, and this is what doctors are prescribing. Most doctors aren't going to talk about intermittent therapy when it comes to any type of a pharmaceutical. It usually doesn't work that way unless they've been in the field for a long time, unless they've had personal experience with intermittent therapy and have prescribed intermittent therapy to their patients. But in general, if you're going to a dermatologist or a urologist, they're going to stick by the book. Now, with that said, we are both not physicians, but I am a believer that the only way that intermittent therapy actually can work is if you load your body up on any medication, especially this medication. So you should talk to your doctor about the proper dosage. And I agree with the doctor prescribing, and again, I'm not a doctor, but the 1 milligram dose that was tested during clinical trials. Take that for a few months. If you feel everything is working, then stick with it. If you are concerned about the potential of adverse side effects by taking 1 milligram a day, then you should talk to your doctor and say, look, I'm concerned about side effects. Can I start with a 0.5 milligram or a 1/4 milligram to slowly wean yourself on it so that you don't have any adverse side effects? I know Joe talks about that a lot. But I understand why most doctors, I mean, if you're going to a dermatologist or a urologist, I should say, they're just going to stick by the book. They're going to look at the physician's desk reference and they're going to say, okay, how is it prescribed? And they'll prescribe it that way.
Yeah, I think both doctors didn't really believe in this drug, and they told me that they don't have very much experience, and most people stop to use it after a while, so they only get their first prescription and never come back. That's what both said. And I'm thinking about like a little ease in thing, like when they prescribed me.
I'm listening.
Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Joe is gone.
Yeah, I'm going to get Joe. I'm going to get Joe back on.
Okay. Sorry. So I was thinking about taking like 3.5 milligrams, so half a pill a day or maybe a pill every 2 days for a start.
Well, listen, we can't give you medical advice, and I can't give you medical advice, but there are a lot of guys, at least anecdotally, who start that way, or start with less, and they do fine, and they actually see results without having any adverse side effects. And there are plenty of guys who are just so concerned about the adverse side effects that they want to start low, and they do. Also, there are guys who start with the 1 milligram dosage, have or experience adverse side effects, and then lower their dosage, and then the side effects go away, and they still are able to attain some really positive results using half the dosage. And then sometimes that gives them time to kind of go back up to 1 milligram once their body adjusts. So I think your basic thought, anecdotally, is probably the way to go. But we're not doctors, and we can't just tell you, hey, do that. Now, Joe might be able to. I don't know. Joe, what do you think?
No, I think that everything you were saying that I could hear because my Skype crashed and you had to call me back. I think it all makes sense. Earlier, you were talking about your dedication to being a brand whore like we do. Good for you. I believe in that. I didn't hear everything about you're talking about with dosages, but the way I look at it is don't start off, again, don't know what you're saying, but I think that if you're doing a dosage experimentation, start low, build high, don't go the other way around.
Yeah, you always have room to go up.
Yeah. And I know people that did start high or built up to a higher level, decided they didn't want to be at that level, even though there's no problem for months or even years, went way back down, and it caused a telogen effluvium. So always build up in slow increments. Spend time at each increment to see if it works well for you or not.
Yeah, thank you. I might try the 3.5 milligrams. Would you say it's best to take, if I wanted to take 3.5 milligrams, to take a half pill a day, or better one pill every 2 days?
Well, what size is your dosage? You're getting, you're talking about Propecia, so it's 1 milligram, right?
It's 1 milligram, so I was thinking about 3.5 milligrams per week.
Oh, per week. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. That would be what? That'd be
half a pill a day.
Half a pill a day?
Absolutely. That's a great way to start, and do that for like a full month to see how that works. At least a full month. Nothing less than that before you decide on whether you want to move up or not.
So again, to be clear, that's 0.5 milligrams a day.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And one thing about the side effects. Last time I called in, we spoke about possible side effect about gynecomastia.
Yeah.
And I was talking about that I have like 7.5% moobs, and you said it would probably be fat. So I'm on a low-carb diet for like 5 or 6 months, and I lost about 25 pounds, and they're gone. So
you're welcome.
So it's not gynecomastia. Thank you for encouraging me.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did that. Listen, I had moobs. I was getting moobs, and it's more common it's common at any age actually, but as you get older, they just start to happen. And it was all weight, man. It was just fucking weight related. I must have lost in the last 2 years a total of close to 30 pounds. And
that's impressive.
It is impressive. And I have the chest of a young Swedish boy again. You know? So, what?
like hairless and white and chalky?
It's not chalky. But it's hairless.
I'm not even pretending to know what the chest of a Swedish 12-year-old boy looks like to begin with, so I can't even comment on that.
You do not have to pretend.
Isn't that what we all dream about at night?
Well, listen.
By the way, something off topic. Did you know if you wanted to do a low-carb diet in Germany, you can't buy any light beer in Germany? And Germany is the land of beers, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. It's insulting to even ask for one.
But light beer is great. It's like mostly full alcohol, and it's still low carb.
That's true.
So if you
could drink vodka.
Sorry. Oh, I was gonna say, or you can just drink vodka.
Yeah.
Have a good scotch. Done.
Yeah, but I'm German. I like beers.
That's
Of
true.
course.
That's true.
Good man.
Well, listen, man. I'm glad. And how old are you again?
30.
30. Okay. Well, listen, I think that you are. I mean, I find it fascinating that it took you 6 months to get to this point, but I understand it because you want to stick to brand and you're dealing with a, socialized medicine, and it's so funny in this country. Everybody wants free health care. Everyone deserves health care. People don't understand what it actually is.
No.
I know a woman who, she's Canadian, and poor girl found a lump in her breast. And luckily it was benign, everything's okay, but she had to wait months to fucking see a doctor and have a mammogram.
Yeah, a buddy of mine was concerned about his heart because he's into cardio and sports and stuff, and he waited over a year.
Wow. And what happened to him?
He died of the stress from being afraid.
He's dead, yeah.
He waited over a year, and everything was fine, but over a year, man. That's
unacceptable. That's unacceptable.
That's unbelievable. I definitely think they should give you an option to have a concierge. I mean, do they have a concierge option in Germany?
Sorry, what's the concierge
basically
option?
Just pay cash?
No. It's like
the whole idea is that no one person has a right to get care in front of anyone else based on how much money they can pay.
Well, that is fucking ludicrous.
It's not fair.
There's like a small percentage, like you can get private insurance.
Yeah.
But it's it's really a trap. It's very expensive, and you can't get out of it. You can't get back to universal health care again if you start go into private insurance.
That's it.
So it's like
my
a
goal
two-class
is
medicine.
one of the reasons why I want to be able to be successful in life is I don't want to ever have to go to the fucking hospital. God forbid something happens to me. Joe, we're setting up a bed right in the other room here. And I'm going to have 24-hour care. I'm going to hire some Haitian woman, to do whatever I need to get done. And that's it. I am not spending any fucking time in a hospital. Those places are death traps.
Yeah.
All right, man. Listen, I wish you the best of luck. Congratulations on the weight loss. I'm glad you finally got your hands on the drug. And how's the hairpiece thing going real quick? I mean, are you okay with it? Is it working out for you?
Yeah, I found my peace with it. I mean, I look into the mirror and I don't like it. I don't like every situation. We got this at work. We got this, how is it called, elevator, and there's it is made out of mirrors. And every time I use the elevator, I'm looking at myself and, oh, my God. But nobody ever noticed anything.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably your worst critic.
Yeah, I think Tinder is a thing on in America too, is it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I had this Tinder date like for a month, and beside other Tinder dates, and I was so sure that to the one girl, I already told her that I got a hairpiece, so I didn't.
Right.
In the end, and told her I had to get to my appointment to change my hairpiece, and I forgot that I didn't tell her. And she was shocked that I'm wearing a hairpiece.
And how did she react besides shock? Did you continue to see her, or was it like, oh my God, you lied to me?
No, that's never. Every time I tell a girl that I'm wearing a hairpiece, it's totally fine.
See that, guys? I think that's amazing. You're a 30-year-old guy. You're probably screwing young chicks on Tinder, and you're upfront with it, and that's it. This is what I have to deal with. Half these girls probably have silicone orbs in their bodies or some other fake shit going on. Good for you.
But that's the thing. After wearing like hairpiece for like 1 year, 1.5 years, it's not really about what other people say and think and how they are attracted to yourself. It's much more how about you feel about yourself.
That's very well said.
And I'm not willing to, continue the hairpiece thing. I'm not very comfortable with it.
Well,
if I'm honest.
Listen, if you are able to get out of it and you're able to grow enough hair back where you feel comfortable without wearing a hairpiece, more power to you. But here's the good news: you've already succeeded in wearing one, even though it's a pain in your ass and you're not totally comfortable with it. And you're comfortable enough to divulge to women that you're wearing hair, you've crossed the threshold that most guys, especially your age, have difficulty crossing. So I think you've done yourself a great service.
Thank you.
All right, man?
Thank you both.
All right, you got it. Good luck. Thank you for the call.
Good work, and have a good night.
We will. And tell all your German friends to tune in.
Yes, I will.
All right, man. Take care.
Boldness knows no borders. Remember that.
That's right.
Bye.
Thanks. Take care. 888-659-3727. I wonder if our German friend would tell his friend, other German friend would tell his friends to tune in.
Well, if he tells women on Tinder that he's wearing a wig, then why not?
Not this German friend. The German friend that we're supposed to be working with.
Oh, you'd think.
You hear that? Germans like the show, German dude. Not
German dude.
Not the caller, but the German dude that we're supposed to be, working with.
One of our allies.
Jesus. Let's see who this is. Oh,
it's amazing.
All the lights lit up again. I don't know who's on the hold the longest. Let's see. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
This is Dr. Ken Anderson calling from Atlanta.
Hang up.
Dr. Anderson, how are you, man?
Good, bud. How you guys doing?
You cannot complain. Did you hear our German caller?
I sure did.
Yeah.
Sure did. That's an interesting approach on online dating.
Yeah. Dude, listen. You gotta give it to him. He doesn't give a shit. He does what he has to do, and he's out there getting laid.
We don't have to give it to him. His girlfriends are. Boom.
Easy.
Thank you.
So what's happening, Doc?
You know, just finishing up a surgery, robotic surgery today. It's a little bit late, but I was watching the show. You know, love this show, and wanted to make a couple comments about Finasteride.
Okay.
And well, I want to talk about splitting up the dose. I know a caller 2 callers ago was asking about should he take 3.5 milligrams every other day or every day. You want to take Finasteride if you're going to lower the dose. You want to take that daily. That's the half-life of that drug is about 4 hours or so. 4 to 7 hours. So we'll say 6 hours, and it takes the human body 4.5 half-lives to get rid of any given drug. And so that means if you take it every day, it's going to be basically a 24-hour pulsing of the drug. If you take 1 pill of Proscar on a Sunday, it's a huge dose on Sunday, and it's going to be out of your body by Monday, and then you're going to have none present for the remainder of the week.
Well, let me ask you this,
Okay.
and you are obviously, listen, you're a prescribing physician. You went to medical school, and you know about this drug because this is all you do. But in my life, what I was able to do is I loaded up on the drug for years. I was taking initially 5 milligrams a day, and then because all they had at the time was Proscar. No one was talking about cutting it up yet because no one was talking about anything. There's just one article in the New York Times about the drug being tested for hair loss. I got my hands on it and started to take it. So for the first year, I took 5 milligrams every day. Then I started to hear about, them testing it again. I read another article at a 1 milligram dose.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I'll lower the dosage. I'll play with it, which is something that I did. And then after I was on it for several years, I started to skip days to see how I would do. I skipped days, no problem. Now I take 1.5 for the last 8 years. I take 1.5 milligram dose once a week. And I was told that by some physicians that I spoke to that because I was on the drug for so long and it takes about 2 weeks for your DHT levels to go back to normal, that every time you take that dosage, that you are basically just popping your DHT levels back to, the levels that you need in order to maintain your hair. And then it's slowly creeping back up and it doesn't seem to be affecting you. Now, in my experience, it's worked, but I certainly understand your point. Your point completely makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's medical.
Well, I think you alluded to something there, that dose worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
Hair loss is an inherited sensitivity to DHT, and I think that everyone has, of course, different levels of sensitivity. And so, by taking
Absolutely.
1 5 milligram pill on once a week, that is certainly going to lower lower the DHT a certain amount, and that may be enough for you,
right?
And it may be enough for a lot of people,
right?
And so I think it's finding an individualized dosing is an interesting idea, and I think that I'm actually of the opinion I would rather, if I were you, if I were Spencer and I was doing that, I would probably cut it in half and take 1 on Sunday and 1 on Wednesday night or something like that. Kind of just even it out a little more. But
Doc, you're fucking me up now. Now I'm all fucked up mentally here.
You just kicked in his OCD, man.
Well, I got a bunch of patients in my practice that are. So I've been prescribing Finasteride since 2003, and I got some patients now who are in my practice, and they're in their 50s, and they're saying, yeah, I've been taking this for 15 years or so, or 20 years, and I stopped taking it a year ago, and there's just not much going on downstairs. They have weak ejaculations. They're having a little bit of ED, and so you start thinking about it. And when I first started prescribing it, and the FDA told us that the side effects were certainly going to be all reversible, then that was like great. Well, they must have done a huge study. And then I read the study, And you'd think that, with something as important as sexual function and side effects from a drug like this, that they would have had, thousands and thousands of guys in that initial study. But there were 53 guys. And if you got 53 guys in a 5-year study, that's not going to be, I don't know. I think you're going to miss a lot.
What about the study that had 3,100 guys?
Well, I'm not sure about that one, bro. I don't recall reading that one.
Yeah.
But I think that's what I'm thinking. And what my point was is that we have very little idea about the brain. We don't even know how to put a nerve back together effectively.
Right.
And the psychosexual function is something we have even less actual anatomical or physiologic knowledge of. And if you think about the fact that testosterone and DHT, factor heavily into a male's psychosexual function, and if you introduce the brain to basically a testosterone analog that is not really, it's not testosterone. It looks like testosterone enough to jam up an enzyme, but it's not testosterone. And if you soak the brain in that for years on end, what is that maybe doing to the psychosexual function? I mean, we all know about down regulation. It's why
I should never have taken this call.
Oh boy!
I am now. I'm going to have to go out drinking now.
Well,
all I gotta say is, guys listening, buy stock in who makes Viagra. Buy stock.
Oh, Pfizer.
Pfizer, yeah.
Well, it doesn't do much for sex drive, though.
Yeah.
Libido. Anyway, I'm not to be a big party pooper, but personally, I've kind of come away from, unless a guy is already on it, or he's above the age of like 30 or 40 or 35 or so. I got a lot of guys in their even late teens coming in, and guys in their early 20s. I'm really reluctant to start them on finasteride because they're, just like we alluded to before, the cure for hair loss is not around the corner, and ostensibly these guys could be on it for decades. And I don't know.
Well, I think that's responsible of you, and I think that that's why they call it the practice of medicine.
Mm-hmm.
There are no definites, and everyone practices slightly differently. You have your opinion, and you base your opinion on your findings in your practice, and also your own personal concerns, and that makes total sense to me. I respect that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I think
there's a lot of different brands of topical finasteride, and I think I'd feel a little more comfortable with that.
For me, that goes into the issue of the efficacy of generic versus name brand, because all of the topicals are using generic, and we don't know which one it is. And in my own research and my own experience, dealing with various generics will have an equally number of various outcomes. Some work great. I'm a particular fan of Teva. They seem to have the consistency down. And then others that might be, insert name here, coming from whichever Southeast nation that Costco can get the best deal on. Not so great, and that's the way it works. I mean, you may or may not know this, but these pharmacies, all the pharmacies, they basically put out a call to bid, for a supply of this type of drug or this class of drug from various suppliers, and the cheapest one wins. And it's not so much based on the quality or the reputation of that manufacturer or the supplier. It is the cheapest price. So that's why people walk into their pharmacy and they go to get their finasteride, and they call me up and saying, I don't know what's going on here, but my finasteride pill is a different shape, or it's a different color, or it comes in a different box, or they're like, what the fuck's going on here? I'm like, well, where'd you get it from? My pharmacy. Okay, and it's been generic the whole time? Yeah. Okay, well, they apparently had a different bid, and you got a different supplier now. Congratulations. Welcome to generics. And I remember very clearly how this all started for me getting interested in this. It's when generics first came on the market. And I had a guy down in San Diego. He was a big Proscar whore. I mean, he was like on his Proscar every day, taking his Proscar, quartered, a quarter tablet daily. And having a great result. Like he had a phenomenal turnaround with it. It augmented his surgical result fantastically. And he called me up one day. He's like in a panic. He's like, Joe, what the hell's going on with my hair? My ProScars back then weren't even talking about Finasteride. It's just my ProScar's not working or my Propitia's not working. I'm like, well, okay, well let's figure this out. So we talked about it, and the first clue that I got that about generics being the issue was the only thing that he had changed was he went from brick and mortar to online for his supply. And it just happened to be an online pharmacy. It's down the street from me, relatively speaking, here in British Columbia, Canada. And when I figured that out, I was like, aha, it's a generic from India. You're not getting the name brand. And sure enough, he looked at the box. He's like, yep, India. I said, okay, throw it in the trash. Go get your ProScar prescription from your local doctor, your name brand. Call me in 6 months. He called me in 6 months, and he's like, I'll be damned. My hair came back. And that was just the first of many experiences I had that led me up to the point where I came to the conclusion generic can be fine, but you got to find the right brand of generic, which is an oxymoron. But I confirmed this with a pharmacist I spoke with that he'd been dealing with hair loss for a while, but I presented to him my ideas on why generics may not be so great. And it's because while they can smash some patents, they're not smashing them all. And he gave me a very good example. He said, you're absolutely right. He said, I forgot the name of the medication, but it was a very popular plaque, arterial plaque medication. But it was very popular about 10 years ago. And he said, you know this drug? I'm like, yeah. He goes, guess how many patents are on it? No idea. 35. Okay, great. How many patents did generics have to be able to match as far as like the technology or the secret sauce to be able to become a generic equivalent? I don't know. 13. 13 of the 35 patents to make this super drug to help break up plaque in one's artery, like to save their lives. Only 13 of those patents had to be duplicated to be able to be called a generic equivalent. And that's when it's like, what?
What did I miss? I'm sorry. I'm back.
I'm not doing this.
That's scary.
I know.
Oh, by the way, I was just looking at another. I think Dr. Anderson was talking about one of the studies that actually Merck put out, and it does end up starting at a slightly higher number than going down to 15 patients or something like you said, Doc. But there was another long-term study, and it was a multinational experience study with Finasteride, and I'm looking at PubMed for 5 years, and that was like 1,553 patients that seemed to have tolerated it well for 5 years. So, I mean, there's different studies out there, but the reality is, Doc, you're right. It's a medication. We have no idea. I always say, I don't know what's happening to me. I've been on this thing for over 2 decades.
I could present some ideas.
I could end up with some fucked up form of cancer and not even know can I blame? Is there a causal effect? Do I know if it was the drug? I'm never going to know. I chose to take this chance, and so far over the last
unless they cut out the tumor and there's like an old rolled up Propecia wrapper that's inside.
That's very possible. But I mean, I really have no, I made a decision to take this in order to save my hair. I've been on it for a very long time. So far, knock on wood, so good. But I really don't know. There's shit that's happening to my body as I'm getting older that is it related to the drug? I don't know. I mean, it's not of the sexual nature yet, but who knows?
Well, yes, it's hard when you're your own person. It's hard to really know. If I had not been on the drug, would I be hornier, or would I? How do you know?
Yeah,
that's difficult to know. We're
yeah,
really impossible.
I'd be in jail if that were the case. So, but anyway.
Anyway, I got to say, I appreciated the switching topics briefly to something that you and I have talked about a bunch of times, and that's charging for consults. And it was kind of refreshing and encouraging to hear that patient from Denver talk about my respected colleague Jim Harrison and the fact that he charges for consults, and I've never heard that from a patient firsthand like I did just now on your show, which was interesting, and we're planning on I think I told you, we're planning on, that's a 2019 change for us. We're working on the website changes right now because, I've got complimentary consultations all over it, just like everybody else in Atlanta.
Look, when we were sitting at that bar
most of the industry.
at the Palm, and I think that's when we had the discussion.
That's right.
And I'm are you out of your mind, man? You're a doctor, for crying out loud. You went to medical school.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's true.
You're the real deal. I mean, I'm not working for free.
True.
Why should you?
What underscored it? I took my boards and I was at the Las Vegas ISHRS meeting, and I took my board exam in hair transplant surgery, and I was sitting, and they sequester you in a little room in between the oral exams. You're allowed to talk amongst each other, but obviously not about the oral exam topics. But so I was sitting beside a gentleman from England, and I asked him, I'm like, do you guys charge for consults? And it was like a no-brainer. He's like, of course we do.
Yeah.
And I said, does everybody? He's like, yeah, of course we do. And I think, and it was like the equivalent of I think it was like $300 or something like that. And I think that Canada and the United States may be the only countries that by and large don't charge for hair restoration consults. I think the rest of the world is a little smarter than us in that regard.
Well, I would like all of our. Yeah,
it's actually not the case. I've got clients in Europe, and all of them. I'm trying to talk. I think I got one of them about to switch, but all of them are offering consultations complimentary. Every clinic I know, every clinic I know in Europe, obviously Turkey, because they give everything away. Germany, Switzerland, Belgium, Spain, England. All over, they're all giving complimentary consultations. So for this guy to say we're all doing it, I have no idea why he'd say that. But maybe he's not. Maybe hair restoration isn't his only specialty. Maybe he is. Maybe he's got multiple disciplines that he works under to where it is more accepted and expected to charge for consultations.
He was a really young guy. He just might not. When
you may not even realize.
Yeah, that's probably it. Interesting stuff. Wow.
Well, listen, I'm glad you're going to start charging for consultations. I'm hoping that all IAHRS members start to do that, because I really think that it diminishes this specialty by just having people come in and walk in for a free consultation. I mean, what is this?
I do have to ask.
This is medicine.
Being in Alpharetta, are you going to accept cases of Coors Light?
Of Coors Light?
That's Joe's idea of a sense of humor.
It's a Southern thing, man. Come on.
I haven't noticed that. They like. There's a local brand here called Sweetwater that people are into.
Sweetwater.
Yeah, Sweetwater Brewery here in Atlanta. But no, it's yeah.
Well, listen, I think it's it's smart. It's not just a smart business move. I think it really just, this is a specialty of medicine where the medicine has been completely removed by the market.
Yeah.
And a lot of doctors just kind of like sheep decided in order to compete, we have to do this. That's bullshit.
Yep.
And I'm glad that you have the resolve, Doc, to let the world know, listen, I trained for this. I even took the time to be sequestered to take this board. I know what I'm doing, and just coming into my doors and getting an assessment from me is valuable. It has value.
And I think that the way that I know that Dr. Anderson is so passionate about his craft. I mean, I don't know him well, but we've had our face-to-face before, and hearing him on the show before, like that great interview you did with him in October.
That was good.
I think that when patients come in, and Dr. Anderson, I think that you're going to really benefit from this, because when patients come in and the ones that say, I got to pay for this, go away, but the ones that are happy to pay for it, when they walk out, they're going to say, Jesus, that was worth it, man. He gave me an education.
Dude, it's like Tinder or Match.com. You go out with a girl from Match.com, she's got 30 guys waiting to take her out for another free dinner.
Yeah.
That's an excellent analogy, actually.
Yeah, and that's the reality. You don't want tire kickers. You want people who are serious. And I tell all serious patients that they have to allot a portion of money, a certain amount of money for consultations. That should be included in what they're saving for if they're saving for surgery.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah, it's just not, it's the entire industry that I've been exposed to in the United States. It's just been a thing where people, simply don't charge for it. And
well, you were initially exposed to someone who came from the old school Bosley world.
Yeah.
And that's how you kind of learned the business aspect of this field. And
that's exactly right. Yeah.
And things are changing. So, Doc, we're going to let you go. We have time for one more call. Thank you so much for taking the time to call. I wish more doctors would take the time to call in and listen to the show.
This show, I got to say, is surprisingly informative. You guys really know your stuff, and no joke. And I'm going to be tuning in a lot more often. Usually Friday afternoons I'm doing other things, but this has been a valuable use of my afternoon, and I appreciate you guys putting the show on. Talk to you guys soon.
We appreciate you. Thanks a lot, Doc. Take care.
You got it, brother.
Take care.
Later.
Bye-bye.
888-659-3727. Now I'm all fucked up about Finasteride.
I get it, man. He was going through that, and I was like,
I have this lightening of my nipple as I'm getting older. I'm like, is it because I'm just getting older, or is it because of Finasteride, or is it some other shit?
I was thinking in my head, I'm like, God, he's gonna fuck up Spencer, and now he's gonna be all worried.
Now when you come in, like, dude, check out my nipple. You think that's Finasteride?
And I'm going to get right back on that plane and go home.
Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey guys, Nico, how do?
Nico, you got through. What's happening, man?
Happy New Year.
I did, man.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you boys. I didn't want to disappoint you or FSK, so I thought I'd call in. I'll keep down to this one question, even though I had 20, and I'll keep it to a Finasteride since that seems to be the heart of the show.
Sure.
I built up my dosage from 1 a week to I built it up to about 3 times a week, 1 milligram Propecia. I noticed some results, but for sure I've definitely been experiencing a lot of scalp itch. So it seems to be working, but a shitload of shedding, yet some a shitload of donor area itching. And I was trying to figure out if that itching, which I hear a lot about, is that potentially just does it mean it's working? Does that mean it could be an allergy thing? I'm trying to figure this shit out still. And I went back to the last 2 weeks. I lowered it down to 2 times a week and noticed less itching. So I just hearing what Joe said earlier, I'm trying to figure out what the fuck to do.
Well, listen, again, we're both not physicians, but anytime you put anything in your body, and especially when it's affecting your hormones, there's a possibility to see some changes. You're dealing with issues that can cause, drugs that can cause inflammatory issues. You're dealing with, a medication that can cause, other just random issues that may not even be necessarily well known or associated with the drug or on the label. You just don't know. If you are experimenting with something and you are seeing that, wait a second, I'm taking less of something and I'm not experiencing the same level of side effects, if you go back up and if you up your dosage again and you start to experience those side effects, then you're onto something.
Right.
Then you realize, through trial and error that it's got to be the drug. And eventually, and again, I'm not a physician, so you may want to call Dr. Anderson about this, but eventually what you might want to do is, you wait a while and then you can test it again and up your dosage a little bit more. Talk to your doctor about it, of course, and see if you experience the same side effects. It's possible your body will become more tolerant or be able to tolerate the drug better over an extended period of time.
Okay, cool.
I only got everything he just said.
Go ahead.
What he said.
Right. Trial and error, baby. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just didn't want to go back, regress too low. Like Joe was saying earlier, don't go up your dosage and then go back. But do it only if it seems to be the right balance at that time. And then build again, right? Okay.
I mean, that's logical, right?
Yeah. Cool.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the scalp itch part would just pain in the ass.
But every time you say that and we say that's logical or we agree with it, I have to keep saying we are not providing medical advice.
I get it. Totally.
We're just providing medical opinions.
No, I'm not even.
No,
I'm providing
that.
an opinion based on anecdotal evidence that has been presented either directly to me by people using the drug or online.
I'm just repeating sound bites. How's that?
This is based on experience. That's it. We have no medical training. We cannot give out medical advice. And I mean, I know Joe plays a doctor on TV, but he's not.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
All right, I'll book you guys next week with some surgery questions.
All right.
I want to let you guys go so you have some time off. All right.
All right, Nico. Thanks a
guys.
lot. Happy New Year.
Great.
Good hearing from you. Thanks for
too,
calling.
boys.
Take care.
Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much. Be well. Bye.
We got a few more minutes. I'll take one more call, and then we're going to call it a day. All right.
Okay. Perfect. Let's do it.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
What's going on, guys? It's Mo from New Jersey. How you guys doing?
Mo, what's happening, bro?
How are you?
You guys are such PC assholes. I'm telling you.
Dude, we have to be.
We got
kind of.
We're actually a little bit less PC than most, but we still have to. You know, it's not like Blazing Saddles from the 1970s here. Okay.
Dude, I that's actually very funny. I was in an elevator. This is a true story, and there were these two old guys talking about getting lunch, and one old guy says to the other, "How about chinks?" Okay. Now, my heart almost stopped. I didn't know where to look. I didn't know what to do. But to these guys, that's just second nature. It doesn't make it. They don't give a fuck.
Listen,
it's not even a second
different
thought.
Yeah.
It's a different world. It's a different world. I'm not even getting into that whole.
Dude, when I was speaking of in that same vein, when I used to go to the Chinese laundromat or Chinese laundry, my dad or anything that had to do with anyone who was Asian, whether it was the video store, whatever it is, he would call the guy the Chinaman. You know,
I mean, doesn't matter if he's Vietnamese or Korean.
It makes no difference.
Chinaman.
Japanese guy is a Chinaman.
Oh my God! It's you know it's funny. I mean, it was just the holidays, right? You guys, I mean, the Christmas Story, right? That movie, if you really think about it, it's a classic. Some scenes in that movie, especially the ending of you're talking about the Chinaman, that would not be suitable in today's.
Dude, watch the movie 16 Candles.
Oh, one of the best movies ever made.
And just take a look at that character, Long Dong Wong, or whatever.
Long Duck Dong.
Long Duck Dong. And that would be considered the most racist character, and all the language used around that character would be considered so racist today and politically incorrect. But in 1983, it was in the theaters, and it was funny as shit.
What's your name? Long? What's your last name?
Duck.
Dong? What's your middle name? Duck.
But remember that scene when he was really loaded and he was like dropped off on the lawn in the morning after the party, yes. And one of the grandfathers says, I forgot the guy's name. He's like, "Charlie, isn't that your Chinaman on the lawn?" You can't do that today. That's so fucking wrong.
Oh my God.
No, you can't. But saying that last 2 minutes of that call, not the caller's fault, was probably the most cringeworthiest shit you guys have ever done. And I'm not blaming you. It's just the world we live in. But anyway, I want to talk about something else, but I know you guys don't have much time. To piggyback off of what the last few calls with the physician and your last caller, you guys know, I mean, so I had psoriasis, I have genetic hair loss also, but it's really, that's really not the primary cause of my hair loss. It's mostly been psoriasis and permanent damage due to that. And it was excessive psoriasis. You guys already know that. Yeah. Now, you guys had asked me if I'm taking Propecia. I am not taking Propecia. And now the reason why I'm not is because my body can't. When I have taken Propecia, and it just flared up my scalp like crazy. And essentially, that's exactly how I did it. Now, in terms of trial and error, there was a period in my life where I was kind of just, in terms of diet, in terms of just lifestyle, I was kind of, I went gluten-free due to the psoriasis. I did all different types of things. and I just kind of experimented myself. I went dairy-free, and there was like 3 months where I went no gluten, no dairy, nothing like that. And I introduced these things back to my body, slowly and systematically. I brought dairy back for everything was fine. So I'm like, okay, dairy's not a problem for me. I introduced gluten, and gluten was actually the hardest thing to experiment with because
it's everywhere.
Long story short, it's everywhere. Not just that, because I wanted to see. Now, I know I had gluten intolerance, but then I'm like, okay, how much gluten intolerance do I have? It's obviously not celiac level, but how much gluten can I have? So I basically come down to an ideal situation, not the holidays, obviously, when I'm not following anything, but in an ideal situation, like I can have gluten 2 times a day, max 3. So, but then I took Propecia also in the mix of this, and basically my scalp flared up like crazy, and I couldn't do it. But it's the only way you'll really know it's just from my experience also, is trial and error. I mean, you nailed it, on the head that everybody is different. And
it's not so much process of elimination, it's process of eliminate and then process of adding.
Exactly. Yeah.
What you did, it's like, ideally, it's like cut everything else, cut everything out and just eat, celery and water, and then slowly introduce new things back into your diet after about a week, so you're completely, cleansed. All the toxins are gone. So slowly bring something back in. Try that for a week. No flare-ups? Great. Keep it. Bring something else. Bread. Okay, let's try that. Try that for a week. No flare-ups? Great. All right, chocolate bars. Oh, can't do that. Bye. To avoid chocolate bars. That kind of thing. I love that approach, and I think that more people should try that.
It's the only way. I mean, I won't say it's the only way, but I just think for the logical mind, it really is. Because, because Propecia, and again, I'm not against the drug. I've said positive things about it. I just think a lot of times guys have, and I definitely do think it comes with its risks, but it's just the only way. My situation, I'm one of the few rare folks who has this kind of and again, it's because of the condition I have. And see, the thing is, I say the condition I had, but this condition is so, it will flare up with the common kind of, it can flare up anytime. Now, thank goodness I haven't really had these kind of issues in a while, but Propecia is one of those things that just flares up my scalp like crazy, and it actually will end up doing more harm for good for my condition. But it's just, there's this whole other kind of scheme that kind of goes with it. Obviously, there's kind of the male side, people, it's funny that I said this last time, people would rather have a chance of cardiac arrest than get their dick small or dick soft. But that's a whole nother discussion.
That's true. But the thing is, what you deal with is just, it's a chronic, manageable, and not manageable well by everybody, but it's a chronic, manageable condition. And by the process of an elimination diet, which most human beings do not have the ability to do correctly,
no,
you have been able to really change your life. Most people, and I'm not saying that they're weak. I don't know what it is, but they even with the most serious health conditions are unable or unwilling to change your lifestyle, even if it's, and you had to change yours dramatically. Now, I am the type of person who can change their lifestyle dramatically. Like, I can just cut everything out. Like, right now I'm doing intermittent fasting. I eat within a 6-hour window. That's it. So my first meal today was at 1 p.m.
Yeah.
That was my first meal. And I will end up either having my last bite around 7 or 8, something like that. And then I won't eat and it's been working. And I got to tell you that I am, just in the past few weeks, I am strong as shit. I put 225 on the bench like it's nothing now. I'm 53 years old.
Good for you.
I'm still losing weight. I'm like in the little less, 178, something like that. And it's not a sacrifice,
Yeah.
But there are people out there with heart conditions who won't change their lifestyle. I don't understand it.
I just had a friend of mine on Facebook, just found out the other day. He's younger than me. He's an old roommate of mine from years ago. He's like 40, I don't know, probably 44. Just had a heart attack.
Oh, yeah.
And because he had a shitty lifestyle. He's smoking every day since I've ever known him.
Dude, I used to smoke. I like to drink. I like to drink, Joe.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah,
I could stop that shit on the dime. If I feel like I want to lose weight, I want to just get my mind straight.
Here's the thing. You're saying before you don't know if it's because people are weak. I don't think it's a matter of being weak. I think it's a matter of it goes beyond. It's like you can tell someone something and like, oh, okay, yeah, I didn't know that, but they don't know it until they're actually aware. It doesn't click.
Now there are people out there though that have had multiple heart attacks, who are just like, I can't live without McDonald's, or I can't. They will not change their lifestyle.
You make a very valid, but this is a whole different topic. But just to kind of that right there, I do think there's a whole there is definitely. I think Spence is right that it's not that they're weak. I mean, there is some fact in that, but it's let me put it this way: if I wasn't raised in the most in the richest area growing up, right? I was raised in a very blue collar area, very very urban. A lot of the time,
dude, my bathtub was in the kitchen. Sorry, go ahead.
But you know what it is? Well, think about put it this way: if a guy, McDonald's has, and I'm not saying so to make it very quick, McDonald's has a dollar menu, right?
Yes, yeah.
And you can fill your stomach, and your stomach will feel generally full, maybe not great, for $2 or $3, but that same stomach it'll probably take $10 at a healthy Panera or at a Honey Grow or whatever the hell you want to call it.
True.
And that's really where it starts. And I think it kind of starts there and ends a lot of things. I mean, soda is cheaper than water. You can get a can of soda for $1. Sometimes in some places it'll cost $2. So
Sure.
it's just there is that. I do think there is kind of that economic aspect of it also. I mean, it's just, think about it. It's a lot more expensive to eat healthy.
The things that are bad for you are made more easy to access.
Yeah.
And that's what
course.
keeps people in the health system as well. It's a big racket. The whole thing is just a huge racket, dude.
Life is a racket.
Yeah, life is a racket.
And it's overrated.
Before stop that right there. There's too much pussy in this world for it to be overrated. But anyway,
tune in live on Tuesday to see Spencer off himself.
Look, I just say things that everyone's thinking.
Yes, and we don't. You say things that we're all thinking. No. He says things that we're all thinking and want to say but won't say.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's what it is. But he has the balls to say it. Before I forget, Joe, I know since I don't use Propecia, since I can't, I'm trying to find every good thing that I can use. I know you're a proponent of Nizoral shampoo. Now, typically, I know people use that 2-3 times a week. I watch your videos. I think you say you use it 2 or 3 times a week, if I'm not mistaken.
I used to. I haven't used it in probably a month, but yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I have no routine for anything when it comes to my hair loss, except for ProScar, and even that isn't really as consistent as it should be. But I'm not one of these people that has so many people are like this. I'm not, where they have like a routine. It's like, well, shit, I'm about to go out of run out of Nizoral and need to run down to the drugstore. No, it's like whenever I think of it, I'll pick some up, and that's the way it is. So yes, when I made the video, it was 2 to 3 times a week. Now I'm lucky if it's 2 to 3 times a month. And it might be 2 to 3 times a week next month. I don't know. I'm very inconsistent with that.
Well, let me ask a question. Let me ask you this. Now, I actually tend not to shampoo too much. I like to shampoo, really 3 times a week. That's just me. I don't really like to use too much shampoo. Now, for somebody like me who doesn't like to use too much shampoo, let's say if I shampoo 3 or 4 times a week generally, or let's say 3 times a week, how much should I? Is it safe if that's just not safe, but is it okay if that's my primary shampoo? Because a lot of times people shampoo, let's say every day or 5 times a day. So that's exactly what I'm saying. Since I shampoo so seldom, should it be like then once? If I shampoo 3 times a week, should it be once every 3 days, or should it be, or is it okay to use it? If I only shampoo 3 times a week, every time I shampoo?
That's a good question. Why do you not shampoo daily? Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I'm just curious.
So I basically, okay, let me paraphrase. Let me rephrase it. During the winter, I don't do more than 3 times a week. I like to, because my scalp dries out more in the winter, obviously, because it's cold down in New Jersey, so dead freezing during the winter here. So what I try, so my scalp is just naturally is going to be more dry in the winter. Even though I don't have psoriasis no more, it tends to be more dry. So what I do is when I shampoo it, even if I put conditioner, and I use pretty solid shampoos, it leads to my scalp being more dry out in the cold. So I try not to because it lets loose to some of the oils that I need to have on my scalp. How I feel also just more crisp. It's like a kind of crispy, kind of thing. In the summer and the spring, it's much more simple. I can do that every day, and then I'm out, and it's fine. But in the winter, it's more harsh for me. So that's why I try to kind of limit my shampoo use because it just dries out my scalp quicker.
No, it makes sense. I get that. I think that there are 2 comments I want to make. First off, I think that if you're going to use a medicated shampoo like Nizoral, and when I say medicated, I mean it's designed to for a specific purpose. It has multiple purposes, but the original design was for one purpose. It's a pretty harsh shampoo. That's why they say don't use it daily. But I think that in your case, if you're going to use it maybe once every couple days, it might be okay. It would make sense. It would be okay because you're not stripping your hair on a daily basis with it. That's what it strips your hair. It strips. You think a regular shampoo takes the oils off your scalp. Nizoral, it's like Armageddon. It's a completely different ball game. So yeah, I think every couple of days is probably going to be fine. But back to the psoriasis thing, what did you do to actually get rid of it? You said you don't have it now. Is it just seasonal, or you actually changed when you're talking about your diet change before?
The diet was changed it. So essentially, at one point, I mean, my psoriasis when it was the most flared up was actually during the summer. So that shows that it was diet. I changed my diet around.
Okay. So why do you need to use Nizoral every few days?
So first of all, I just, since I'm not taking Propecia, I do feel that Nizoral has definitely helped kind of keep what I have, and definitely helps. Nothing can be a substitute for Propecia, but from what, Nizoral generally, helps block DHT, if I'm not mistaken.
There are studies that show that it helps to block DHT in the scalp.
Yeah. And there was a study in Japan that showed that that regular use of Nizoral or 2% ketoconazole, which is the active ingredient, was as effective as 2% minoxidil. So yeah, it's better than nothing. So sure, why not? That's what it comes down to. It's better than nothing.
So if that's the only shampoo I'm using every 3, that's fine. If that's my primary shampoo, if I'm only shampooing like twice or 3 times a week.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 times in a 7-day week. Sure, I think that there will be no harm in it. Generally speaking, the benefits from it will be moderate at best, if anything. But at least you're doing something, and it should be relatively safe to do so, given that Nizoral is a fairly safe shampoo to begin with. You probably have access to 1% over the counter, and then 2% with prescription. For me here in Canada, I can get 2% just like right off the shelf. It's not a problem. So with 1%, which is what you probably have access to, then you're most likely fine.
Oh yeah, it's 1%. Yeah, it's 1%.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. So shampoo away.
All right. Well, listen, I had other questions, guys, but I know it's been a long show for you guys. I don't want to be an asshole.
Dude, I am so exhausted. I'm ready to go.
All this talking about diet, I need to go eat a steak.
So what we came away from the show with what? We're being too PC. Life is overrated, and doctors aren't prescribing finasteride like they used to.
Well, life is overrated. That's some shit you said. PC, that's what I said.
Yes.
And then doctors aren't prescribed. Who said that? Was that the other caller? Who was that?
That was Dr. Anderson.
That was a doctor.
Yeah, that was a doctor.
And listen, and another thing, I just have to get off my chest, Spence. I'm sorry. I'm just going off on you today.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, dude. I mean, you're right about the whole charging for the whole consultation thing, but dude, can you wait until after I get my transplant? I mean, can you just wait for a second? Okay, like,
I was waiting for that.
Dude, here's what you do: find out who you're going to, and we'll let you know whether or not they are going to be charging. Who are you considering?
Well, you guys know my last story, right? I mean, Joe, I know that stuff with you, where I was not supposed to say the clinic's name, and then I ended up saying where it was located, and you guys know,
Oh yeah, that's right. You were just about to have a transplant.
We're talking about it earlier.
Yeah, I was about to have a transplant, and it didn't. I went literally in the surgical room, ready to have it, and the clinic said
it's a great fucking
FUE.
story, dude.
Yes, and so I mean, is it all coming back to you now, Spence?
Oh, dude, you did. First of all, you did the right thing. It's totally come back to me, and the fact that, and for guys who don't know what the fuck Mo is talking about, he actually flew to another country with his family to have surgery, and on the day of surgery, chose to walk because he felt uncomfortable. And that is, I mean, that's what you need to do. That's what a man does.
That's a big swinging dick move right there, buddy.
Yeah. You did the right.
And you know what's funny? And again, I know we haven't ever really met. I mean, I feel like you guys, obviously we have this kind of relationship, from the hair loss community, but everybody who knows me, right, knew it. For hair loss is such a big deal I know it's preaching to the choir. The name of the fucking show is The Bald Truth, right?
That's right.
So how much more generic can I be about this? But let me put it this way. My wife, who I was in a relationship with for 5 years before we got engaged, 5 years. We had a long distance relationship for about 3 years. She didn't know for the first 2 years that I was losing my hair because I was using concealer. And the 3 years that we were in a long distance, we see each other here and there. She had no idea about that I was, up until later on when I really let her know this is something. I didn't even let my wife, let me put it this way. My daughter's godfather, my best friend, still doesn't know that how much hair loss affects me. He doesn't even really know I'm going bald.
Right.
Because every time I see him, I'm either wearing a hat or I use concealer. And it even feels uncomfortable for me to say to my best friend who I share everything to. So it's just, for a guy like me, I'm really like the type of guy, let's just do it. For me to walk out of surgery, that is something even I'm shocked for myself about, because that's not something I would have seen myself doing.
Well, now let me ask you this. Did listening to the program help give you a little bit of courage?
Yes. I'm not even gonna let you finish. Yes.
Okay.
Because when and I'm not trying to I'm not trying to be corny, but you guys were the only ones where you guys made it seem okay that you can walk out from surgery. Like it was okay. Like, because before, when a lot of patients, when I feel like, and listen, a lot of patients that feel like they're going in and getting informed, it's like, you have to have it with us, and if you don't, you've made some bad decisions. That's kind of how a lot of not the clinics that I chose.
Right,
I'm just saying the general field that clinics did, and I never heard from the hair loss community that it's okay not to have a transplant. Now, you guys were the first ones to me, at least. I'm not going to say to me that it was okay not to get pushed into surgery. And then when the physician kind of even pushed, because, at first they were saying FUE because your scalp is tight. And I was considering it. And then when I felt uncomfortable, I said, no, it's okay. Then the physician said, let's just go ahead with the strip. At that point, I felt even more uncomfortable, because then at that point, I felt like I was being pushed into surgery.
Look, there are a lot of doctors listening right now. Dr. Ken Anderson called the program, and I have respect for all of the physicians I work with, and a lot of respect for those who I don't work with. But the reality is, and I think, yes, these guys went to medical school. Yes, they've trained extensively to be a specialist in this specialty. But it is still a service that you are paying for. And you are the fucking boss.
Yep.
Period. And if there are doctors out there who still have take this paternal approach to this aspect of medicine, I think they are doing themselves a great disservice, and as obviously and their patients as well. It is a team effort, and if part of the team is unhappy or uncomfortable, then it shouldn't happen.
One of the things that I remember you saying about your experience was that it was explained to you that the staff is here, we're ready to go. And
yeah, I felt like I was supposed to be like emotionally blackmailed. Well, they're here.
You
for
were.
it, so.
You were. Yeah.
You absolutely were. And I think that you said that, and it well, I won't comment on that one, but I remember you saying that, and I think it's a lesson that everyone listening to this should remember, patients and doctors, that the moment that a doctor or a staff member says, well, we're here, we're ready to go, it's like putting that kind of pressure on you. That's when every one of you should turn around and, like I was joking around with Spencer earlier, get back on the plane and leave, because that is the last reason for anyone to have a surgery. It's like, oh, I didn't realize there were other people involved. Sure, I'll lay down and let you cut me open. Thanks.
I don't want to put anybody out, so I'm going to let you cut my scalp open.
Yeah.
Because you guys got in a fucking car to come here for the day. Go fuck yourself.
Forgot about that.
That's my response. And you know what? Again, I have the utmost respect for all the physicians who are in the IHRS, who I work with personally, who I know personally. But docs, you are providing a service. And patients need to know that as well. You are paying for a service. And if you're uncomfortable, and this is something that will affect the rest of your fucking life. So you know what? Too bad somebody had to get on a fucking train and come down and be there early in the morning. I'm sorry that you guys are out a couple of bucks. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And, I also, the other part of the thing that I did take away from the last time I called, because I was bummed out. I'm like, look, I researched this clinic. I admire the hell out of this clinic. I wanted to come here over other places. I pay more here than other places because it's such a top-notch. I felt like, my chapter is closed with them for good. And one thing you said was that you can always go back to even that same clinic. And what I'm doing now, I'm just to update you guys, I'm having fresh consultations all over again. And yes, Spencer, for fucking free. And I hope it remains that way until I get my plan. At least, so you could have waited the fuck until I was done. However, and long story short, I'm having a dialogue with the clinic again, and it's not. Listen, I spoke to a consultant. And I said, look, I'll be very honest with you. I don't think I was, I think the clinic fucked up. I think part of me fucked up, and the only times I say that, and I say that because of my last decision where I said, you know what, I'm going to go for it, but then I backed out because I do think, and I know it wasn't. I was just not in the right state of mind. And when I left Canada, I didn't leave thinking I'm never going to come back to this clinic again. I just felt like at that moment, in that particular time, in that mindset, I wasn't ready to have surgery. I just at that moment, I just felt like, it could have been even a guaranteed result. If God or anybody came down and said, you're guaranteed to have a good result, I still wouldn't have done it just because it wasn't about the result. I just felt like, because I know I'm in good hands, right? These are this is one of the best clinics in the world.
Well, I think that this is for all the physicians who are listening, and the clinics and the clinic advisors and the device salespeople and the consultants, this is a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
You guys need to listen to what happened to this dude and the fact that he walked because the clinic fucked up. I think the consultant may have fucked you up a little bit. I think that the clinic fucked up. I think the way you were treated, the fact that you're walking by open doors with people's scalps being cut open. The whole thing was a mess.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this: the cautionary tale that doctors listening to this should realize is that Mo hasn't gone onto forums to talk about this. He hasn't he hasn't placed a Google review or you know, or a Facebook review or anything like that.
Not yet.
He's talked about it on the show, but he's also, you know, he understands what happened. He's a smart guy. But let me tell you, there are others out there that if you're doing this, you may do it in the past, but there's going to be one guy. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
One guy that you do this to.
Fuck up your shit.
And they're not only going to say, you know, no and walk out the door, but they're going to fuck up your shit if you do try this. So any clinic that's listening to this, just don't do this. It's bad.
I mean, again, at one point, I thought I had to pay for my own hotel, if you remember.
I remember it like it was yesterday. Yeah.
At that point, like I said, it wasn't an insidious kind of threat, but I essentially said, look, the last thing I want to do is go to the fucking blogs and say what happened, and especially about this. Once that, so basically I did threaten them and blackmail them, saying, listen, if you don't do it, that's fine, but I'm just going to let people know that
I would say that's probably considered more of extorting them, but yes.
So, I mean, but hey, and again, I was in the deep, and again, what I have nothing but great respect for this clinic. I do think it just wasn't a good day, and it just wasn't. There are certain days, I'm not a deeply religious guy, but I do think there are certain days where things are just not meant to be.
Right.
I think that day, it just was not meant to be. And again, I've opened conversation with that clinic again, because I do feel like the transplant is something I want to have done. I feel like I'm an educated consumer. I feel like it's something that I can go ahead with. And you know what's fucked up is that
all of it,
all of it. But this is even worse, Joe. Typically, people wouldn't go back to where they had a bad experience. I'm even considering going back just because the industry is so fucked up that I know that the place where I didn't have a great experience, not in surgery, but I didn't have a great one-on-one experience, I may end up going back to just because the industry is so fucked up that, you know, there's not many options out there. You know,
let me stop you right there. Okay. Let me just give you a little bit of advice. I'm not saying don't go back, but I will tell you that any clinic that has the situation that you had, or any patient that goes to a clinic where this situation occurred, you're not blacklisted, but all this is in your chart, and they're going to review this when you come back in, or as they're, you know, it's like, oh, so and so's coming back. Okay,
you are now being looked at with a jaundiced eye.
Go get his chart, check it out. Oh, that guy. Everything changes. You'll be treated fine. Don't misunderstand me. You'll be treated fine, but you might notice there's something a little bit different, something in the air, and it's because of the jaundiced eye that Spencer just said.
The stench of death, my man.
Any clinic, yeah.
Well, I would actually prefer that. I mean, well, because in all seriousness, because I would hope that because I know when it comes to cutting the scalp open, at that point they just want a good result, right? I would hope so, at least. I would hope that they wouldn't sabotage your surgery, because that's also their name on it. You know, so as soon as they open that, you're their patient, you know, for life. Even though, I mean, because if it's a great result, you're their great result. If it's a bad result, you're their bad result. But
it's even possible you may be turned away.
I wasn't going to go. Well, yeah, there is that, or you might, or you won't be turned away, but it won't be the same doctor.
Yeah.
Just saying.
It may not even be a doctor. I'm just kidding.
Well,
listen, anyway. Mo, we got to close up shop, man. It's 24 after the hour. 26 after the hour.
I'll talk to you guys soon.
Well, listen, Happy New Year. Great talking to you. And that's just some fucking story, though, I'll tell you.
It really is. Yeah. Thanks for letting us know that, by the way. Thanks for calling back.
All right. Take care. Thanks for the call, man. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, we have a full board, but we are calling it a night. I'm going to let Joe.
Good day back.
Yeah, great first day back. Happy New Year to everybody. I'm going to let Joe pimp out the message forums who have been kind enough to embed this broadcast and have no fear in sharing a very positive message of education and truth. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I'd like to start off with hairlossexperiences.com, which is I usually go through the same wording. It's a British forum, but it's international because we're all on the internet and blah blah blah. But this time I'm going to say it different. Hair Loss Experiences is going through an upgrade. So if you go to it now, you're not going to see anything. But I'm excited because the whole thing is being upgraded, and I've been dealing with the owner of the website for quite a while, and I've been encouraging him to update, and a whole bunch of things had to happen for this to work out, and it finally worked out. So I'm excited. So once it's back up, you can go to the URL, hairlossexperiences.com, bookmark it, keep checking back, and when it pops back up in its new and improved form, let them know what you think of it. And then let them know that you appreciate them supporting this broadcast. That's hairlossexperiences.com, primarily a UK-based forum, but because it's the interwebs, we've all got access to it. I said it anyway. The next one up is bellycapelli.forumfree.it. Italian-based forum, but again, with modern browsers, it translates into the language of your choice. Fantastic resource, great patient interaction, lots of clinics showing their before and after results. And the guy that runs that, again, great guy. He says he's just a guy, but we happen to think he's a great guy because he is, and he supports our message. Finally, we got international-hairlossforums.com. That is a French-based forum. You know the drill. International forum, different languages, browsers, yada, yada, yada. They support the message. They're good peeps. Go check them out. How's that?
And for those who don't support the message, I'm sorry you feel that way. That,
Bite us.
Educating people and allowing people to have access to the opportunity to speak to us and to hear stories like Moe's and Dr. Anderson calling in and all of the other great callers that we have. You guys are just so fucking petty. It's unbelievable to me.
The pettiness, even over the holidays, there's pettiness that emerges. It's just like, really?
It doesn't end.
Christmas.
It doesn't end. It's like, for crying out loud, we're all supposed to be in this together.
Absolutely.
Sorry I had some success early in my life. Jesus.
Yeah, but you got a list.
I have a list. A list.
A lisp.
I wrote about that today, the list.
I saw that. Well done.
Thank you. It's all such fucking bullshit. Anyway, the website's thebaldtruth.com for archives of this broadcast. Check out thebaldtruth.com. Also, guys, why don't you subscribe to us on iTunes? Really easy to do. Subscribe, and I'll be putting up podcasts this year. It's going to happen. Already started.
Are you really?
Yes,
seriously?
I am.
You said it all last year.
And I did. We put up about 20. I just spit on the mic.
Okay.
It's going to listen, I'm busy, and I have OCD, and I have to end up doing editing myself. I can't trust anybody out there to fucking edit the show.
I get you on that one. Yeah.
No one gets it. No one understands what the fuck we do.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I have so much content. And guys, for the doctors out there that came to the studio, who I interviewed, and there were like 30 of them, your content will be out there online shortly. So don't worry about it. It's not going to waste. Got a lot of great content from some great doctors who are out there willing to support the truth.
Did you contact or did you hear back from the doctor that stole the shot glasses?
He didn't steal them.
Slipped in his pocket.
He didn't steal. Used them.
You borrowed them
for almond milk. I don't know. I don't even understand. Who wants a shot of almond milk? Anyway, guys, we're going to go. The IHRS is the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons, IAHRS.org, the American Hair Loss Association, AmericanHairLoss.org, Bald Truth Talk Message Forum. Check it out. Pretty popular, got to say, got to admit that. But remember, it is a message forum. Take whatever you read on a message forum with a grain of salt, even if it's ours. That's just the reality of it. Other guys wouldn't tell you that because that's their form of income, their only form of income. And they don't want you to know the truth about what happens on the message forums. We try to moderate and regulate what happens on these forums because there's so much bullshit, trash, so much misinformation and disinformation and extortion. It's such a fucking dirty place. I can't even talk about it. You know what? Don't go to the forums.
Don't.
Anyway, they're going to go to mine, though. It's the way it is.
You can't. It's like telling an alcoholic not to drink.
Yeah, but that's true. Well said. But thank you guys for making Bald Truth Talk, even though there are some people out there, one person who's in Europe that doesn't like hearing this, making Bald Truth Talk the most trafficked hair loss message forum in the world. Period. Thank you for that.
Is that a good crowd?
It is. Until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you so much for listening and watching.
Bud Light presents Real American Heroes.
Real American heroes.
Today we salute you, Mr. Really Bad Toupee Wearer.
Mr. Really Bad Toupee Wearer.
More than any neon sign or exploding scoreboard ever could, your chrome dome cover says, "Hey guys,